All right, hello, fourth grade. So today we have a NTI snow day, or it's a snow day, or something happened and we're not at school. So I want to keep our weaving momentum, and we're weaving our circle looms. And the main pattern we're really trying to get into is that over, under, over, under. So I was trying to think about what I'm pretty sure you might have at home that we could keep up that weaving momentum. And I didn't think we'd all have yarn, or I could teach you how to paper plate weave. So I figured everybody has paper, whether you have cardstock, construction paper, printer paper, or even notebook paper. You could do a simple paper weaving. It'll still keep us in our momentum of weaving our ups and downs. So whatever you have. I don't have construction paper at my house because I guess I don't have construction paper, but I had cardstock, and cardstock's a little bit thicker, so this would work. I stole pages of just blank copy paper from my printer, and if you have a notebook, you could even rip out a piece of notebook paper or loose leaf paper and do this on that project too. So you need a couple pieces of paper. If you have colored paper, that's the best and the easiest, but you can do this on white paper too, and we can make it work. You might need a pencil, and you definitely need some scissors. If you have like a stapler or tape or glue stick or something, that would work as well. I'm trying to see if I even have my glue stick. I do. So I grab my glue stick. All right, so I'm going to start. I think it'd be easier to start me showing you on colored paper, because the white paper is kind of hard to see on, but I can do it both ways. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a loom, and I made one out of printer paper earlier. And a loom is just like we did on our circle. We're ready to weave on it. So this is the structure of that fabric we're going to make. So I'm going to show you how to make this. It's pretty easy. So whatever piece of paper you're choosing to use, I'm going to just grab the yellow because I think it might be easier to see on. Have it go vertical, which is long, and then we're going to fold it in half. I don't want to say hamburger bun style, but you're going to fold it in half so it's like a book. Okay? So the open edge is away from you, and the folded edge is towards your tummy. So this is where the pencil comes in handy. What I want you to do, I'm going to turn it so now the flap is this way. I'm going to take two of my fingers, and I'm going to kind of measure right about there. And I just made a little mark. And you want two fingers. That gives it. And then I want you somehow, you can take another piece of paper, you can get a ruler, or you can just kind of guess. You're going to line up, and you're going to draw a straight line. So you just have a plain straight line. And I just used the side of another piece of paper, and I did my two fingers and made a dot, lined it up straight. And if you don't want to do that, you can do your two fingers and just kind of guess and make a straight line that way too. So again, I don't know what we have at home, so we're going to make it work. So now I have my line is at the top. The open side's facing away from me, so the mouth is facing away, and the folded edge or the closed side is facing towards me. Okay? So you can use your pencil again, and you can draw some straight vertical lines going down this way. You could use a ruler, you could use a paper, or you could just go for it. I'm just going to draw some lines. I'm not going to be too... You don't want them super skinny because they could rip, but you don't want them super fat because it's hard to get in and out. So you can make some skinny, some fat. They don't all have to be even, but they do have to go from that horizontal line all the way down to the folded edge. So now I'm having a weird shadow, but we're doing like that. So we're kind of looking like we're making like a keyboard, but we're not. All right, and if they have a little wobble to them, that's fine. So mine are different thicknesses. That's absolutely okay. So we'll go through the steps. We took a piece of paper, folded it in half, then I turned it to the side, the opening. I put two fingers and I made a dot, and I just took another piece of paper and helped me make a straight line because this is our stop. Then I turned it back up so the opening is away from us, and I just drew some vertical straight lines coming straight down to the bottom. We don't want them super close together. We don't want them really far apart. So this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You want probably at least 8. More than that, and they might be too big. All right, so now you're ready. Folded edge is closest to you. You're going to hold the paper in your non-dominant hand, and you're going to hold your scissors in your dominant hand. We are going to cut on each pencil line until we get to the horizontal line, and that tells us to stop. So I'm going to start at the back of my scissors and make long cuts until I can get right to that line and stop. Don't snip, 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 because you'll get a jagged edge. Try to tuck your scissors towards the back. One long snip, tuck them again, and then get right up to that line and stop. If you go a little bit over it, that's fine. And you're going to do that for all of them. So I want you to practice long, clean cuts. I don't want to see any jagged edges. We don't do a lot with scissors since we're in 4th grade, but it never hurts to practice our scissor skills. Because what you don't want to do is snip, snip, snip. We want to do a long cut to tuck it all the way to the end, go to the end, and keep going. I'm going to do the last one. Okay, and if your scissors are shorter than mine, that's fine. So when you're done, I held both sides together, so I cut through. So it looks like a little hula skirt now. And you open it up, you have your loom. So these are your warp lines, like how we did last week on the round. And this is now your loom. I don't want to see the pencil, so I could always turn it upside down if I want to. It doesn't matter. When we're weaving, it's reversible. So this is our loom. So now we have to make the weft or the yarn pieces that we're going to weave. So that's when you need a second piece of paper. And if it's the same size as the piece of paper you just did, that's perfect, because we know if we cut along this way, it'll be the perfect length. So I'm turning my paper that's the same size as my loom paper horizontal, and I'm just going to cut some strips. You could draw the lines on first if you want, or you could just be like Mrs. Cole and go for it. They can be thick, they can be thin. If you have lots of colors of paper, you can mix it up and cut a couple of each color you have. It's really up to you and what you have at home. Now, if you just have white paper, I'll show you what you can do. So you would cut as many lines as you can going across. But if you are using just white printer paper like this, and you have more white printer paper, so remember we go to the side, before you cut, what you might want to do is decorate your paper. So you get out some crayons, some markers, some colored pencils, and you could just either color straight lines, or you could just kind of decorate that paper however you want. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me. And I'm just using some texture, you know, and I could just add some interest to that paper. I could just do some thick, crazy lines. You guys get the idea. So it would be really hard to weave white paper on white paper. So if I decorated my string paper or my weft first, when I cut it, I can cut on my stripes, or you can color it one solid color. Lots of different options. So now I have something that looks different, and that's going to be easier. So I'm going to do it on both. So if you have white paper, and this could be lined notebook paper, or it could be something a little different. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's see. My focus. All right, it's hard to see that pink. There we go. I can kind of show you. So that will show up a little bit better. Okay, let me close my... Sometimes the lighting in my house isn't great for videoing. All right, we'll make this work. So we'll start, if you just have regular white paper, the green shows it better. You're going to keep your loom going vertical, and your yarn piece or your weft is always going to go horizontal. So we're going to do it just like we did on our circle loom. You can either start over or you can start under. So I like to start under, and I like to go to the left. If you want to go to the right, that's fine with you. There's no right or wrong here. It's different though on this one. So we're going to go under, slide over, under, and you're going to go under or over, and you're just going to pick up your warps. So you're doing that pattern. And you're going to tuck that string all the way to the top. So what it looks like is you have under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. So you have a pattern. So I'm going to use my next one. Helps to have a different color. So this ended under, so I'm going to put this one over. So you do the opposite on the straight. So I'm going, now you can see it. I'm going over, under, over. So I'm doing the opposite of the one before it. So I'm under here, I'm over here. And you're going to do that for the whole thing. Now I find it's easier to pick it up off my table and move it. And you want to be careful if you're using notebook paper or printer paper because it's thin. And you kind of, it's called combing your loom. You just tap it. So when you're finished, you have that pattern starting. So see, it's under, over. So it's opposite. If you did it the same way, you would be stacking everything together. So we're kind of going to make a checkerboard. And I'll do it again with the color paper because it makes a little bit more sense with the color paper. But if you don't have color paper, this is what it's going to look like, and that's absolutely fine. And you're going to try to fill in the whole loom, knowing it's the opposite, okay? So if that's your white paper, if you did colored paper, same thing. I like to start from the right going to the left. I have to go under, over, under. So you slide under, go over the next one, slide it under. I'm going to comb my loom by sticking it forward. So then I have that pattern, under, over, or top, bottom, whatever makes sense. So my next one's going to go the opposite of how this starts. So this started under, so I'm going to go over this one. So it's a lot of picking up those warp strings. And you might have done this in first grade or kindergarten before you had me, and you know how to do this and you're going to be a rock star. Or you may have never done paper weaving before, and this is a first for you. So it takes a little practice. So I always want to go opposite of how I start. So this started over, so I want to go under. If I forget that and I weave the same way, I'm going to show you what that looks like. It's really easy to spot. So if I try to comb this, it's going to go on top of each other. That tells me I didn't weave it right. We got to do opposite. So that's a little different than how we do our circle looms. So if it ends up looking like this, that's not right. So we got to take it out. What I want you to do is I want you to practice your weaving on paper and see if you can fill that whole sheet of paper, the loom. Your loom isn't that big. It shouldn't take you that long. Your goal is to get that checkerboard, and you want to fill it in. You probably can get about 8 in here. Once you find that rhythm, it's really easy. Thicker paper sometimes is easier to hold. If you have our thinner paper, that's fine too. Remember, when you're cutting your strips, you want to cut it horizontal, so that way they fit exactly, and you'll get enough strips. So have fun with this. When you're all done, take a nice picture, have your full checkerboard, take a clear picture, upload the assignment, and you're all set for today. I'm going to have this due on Wednesday. Give you a couple days to work on this because it might take you a day to find all your supplies, and then it might take another minute or two to let it click. You're going to do great on this. If you have any questions, let me know. There will not be a live class today because this isn't something we can do live together on the computer. I think it's easier to stop, pause the video, and come back. Any questions, let me know. You've got this. You are my weaving masters. I will talk to you guys later, and I can't wait to see you guys again. Bye, 4th grade.